Have you ever seen a place so beautiful it hides a terrifying secret? Deep in the rolling hills of West Virginia lies Lake Shawnee, a serene body of water surrounded by dense forests. It looks like the perfect spot for a quiet afternoon of swimming or fishing. But looks can be deceiving. Those who know its history, or dare to venture here after dark, know that Lake Shawnee is not just a lake. It's a place built on tragedy, where the past refuses to stay buried. This is a lake that still claims lives. For decades, visitors have whispered about its curse. Locals say the water is haunted by the spirits of those who died here, their restless souls lingering just beneath the surface. For those who ignore the warnings, the lake has a way of pulling them in, dragging them down into the cold, dark depths, leaving nothing but ripples and whispers behind. Long before settlers arrived, this land was sacred to the Native Americans of the region. It was a burial ground, a final resting place where families laid their loved ones to rest, believing their spirits would protect the living. But in the 18th century, European settlers arrived and ignored these sacred traditions. They built homes, farms, and eventually, a mining operation right on top of this hallowed ground. One of the first recorded tragedies happened when a mining pit collapsed near the lake, causing a sudden flood that drowned several settlers. The local community was terrified, convinced that the spirits of the dead were angered by the desecration of their sacred land. Even after the mining operations stopped, the lake remained restless. Boats would mysteriously capsize in calm weather. Swimmers would vanish without a trace, and on many nights, a strange, thick fog would roll over the water, cold and impenetrable, hiding shadows that seemed to move just beneath the surface. Over the years, the number of strange events reported around Lake Shawnee has grown into a chilling collection of local lore. Take the story of the fisherman who vanished. In the summer of 1983, a man named Henry went fishing alone at dawn. Henry was an experienced angler who knew the lake like the back of his hand. But as the hours passed, he didn't return. His boat was later found floating near the center of the lake, completely untouched. His fishing rod was still in place, the line still in the water. Rescue divers searched for days, but they never found his body. Locals say that on quiet mornings, if you listen closely, you can still hear the sound of a fishing reel turning, even when no one is there. And then there are the children. A deeply disturbing pattern has emerged over the decades. Several children have disappeared while playing near the lake, often right at the shore where the water is shallow. Eyewitnesses have reported seeing small, spectral figures at the water's edge, seemingly calling for help. But when someone gets close, the figures vanish into thin air. Some even claim to have seen ghostly hands reaching up from beneath the water, as if trying to drag unsuspecting victims into the depths. Visitors also report phantom lights and mystery. Late at night, strange, glowing orbs are often seen hovering above the water. They're not lanterns or flashlights, no. One is ever there. These lights move with an eerie purpose, circling around before suddenly vanishing. Alongside these lights, a thick, cold mist often rises without warning, wrapping itself around boats and swimmers. Those who have been caught in it say it carries whispers of unintelligible voices that seem to call their names, luring them toward the water. It's no surprise that many locals firmly believe Lake Shawnee is cursed. They say the Native American burial ground beneath the water gives the spirits a permanent claim to the land. Anyone who disrespects it by swimming recklessly, fishing at odd hours, or disturbing the surrounding area is said to provoke their wrath. The lake's long and tragic history seems to support these beliefs. Over the years, at least a dozen deaths have occurred under mysterious circumstances. While many were officially recorded as accidents, the stories from survivors and witnesses paint a very different picture of invisible forces, icy hands pulling them down, and the constant, unnerving feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Some locals take it a step further. They believe the lake doesn't just claim lives, it feeds on them. Those who are taken are never seen again, but their disappearance is often followed by strange events. Boats will rock on their own in still water. Personal belongings will vanish from the shore, and the faint cries of the lost can be heard echoing softly across the lake at night. Even in modern times, the lake continues its reign of terror. In 2015, a college student named Sarah went for a night swim with her friends. They were near the edge, laughing and having a good time, when Sarah suddenly screamed. Her friends said it looked like she was pulled under by an invisible force. They jumped in immediately to save her, but by the time they reached the spot where she went down, she was gone. Her body was never found. To this day, Some say that when the lake is calm, her faint cries can still be heard on the wind. 3 years later, in 2018, a group of campers set up their tents near the lake for the night. Around midnight, they were startled by strange noises, footsteps splashing in the water, splashes with no apparent cause, and whispers that seemed to call their names. One camper woke up to a terrifying sight: a shadowy figure standing in the water, silently watching them. By morning, the tents were empty. All of their gear was left behind, but there was no trace of the campers. Authorities investigated, but could find no logical explanation for their disappearance. Even the local wildlife seems to sense the danger. Fishermen have reported that in certain parts of the lake, fish refuse to bite. Birds will actively steer clear of the shoreline, and dogs brought to the area will growl at nothing, their eyes fixed on the water. Locals see this as another sign of the lake's unrest, a silent warning from nature itself. So what's really going on at Lake Shawnee? There are several theories. The most common one is that the spirits of the Native Americans buried beneath the lake are restless and angry. The tragedies are their way of seeking retribution for the desecration of their sacred ground. Paranormal investigators offer another explanation: residual energy. They suggest that the lake holds the psychic imprint of all the fear, pain, and death that has occurred there. This energy manifests as cold spots, disembodied whispers, and the feeling of being touched by unseen hands. Of course, skeptics point to natural dangers. Sudden underwater drop-offs, strong currents, and hidden debris could explain the disappearances. But these rational explanations don't account for the countless eyewitness reports of ghostly figures, phantom lights, and voices calling from the mist. Local authorities and residents have long warned visitors to stay away, especially after dark. Swimming, fishing, or camping near the lake at night is considered extremely dangerous. One chilling local tale tells of a man who laughed off the warnings and went for a midnight swim. The next morning, all that was found were his clothes, neatly folded on the shore. The lake was perfectly calm, as if nothing had ever happened. Another popular legend speaks of a figure called the Water Keeper, a tall, dark, shadowy entity that is said to patrol the lake. It reportedly emerges from the water to drag anyone who gets too close down into its domain. Those who claim to have seen it say it vanishes the moment you try to get a better look, leaving only ripples behind. What makes Lake Shawnee so deeply terrifying is how ordinary it looks. On a sunny day, with children playing on its banks and tourists enjoying the view, it seems like any other peaceful lake. But beneath that tranquil surface, a dark history of tragedy and paranormal activity, and every unexplained disappearance, every ghostly whisper, and every strange ripple on the still water is a haunting reminder that some places carry the weight of the past. The combination of historical tragedy, repeated unexplained incidents, and chilling local legends has turned Lake Shawnee into a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost hunters and thrill seekers travel from all over, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural. Many leave with nothing more than stories of eerie sounds, moving shadows, and the constant, creeping feeling of being watched. Lake Shawnee is more than just a body of water. It's a living monument to its own tragic past, a place where memories refuse to die. Whether you believe in spirits, curses, or purely natural dangers, one thing is certain: this lake demands respect. Ignore the warnings, and you just might become the next chapter in its dark and terrifying history. A lake built on tragedy that still claims lives. Would you dare to visit Lake Shawnee after dark? Or would you leave its secrets undisturbed and let the spirits rest in peace? If they ever can. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the dark side of history.